It was a cold, gray evening in London, the kind where you could hear the rain tapping softly against the windows, and the old wooden floor beneath your feet creaked every now and then, just to remind you of the years gone by. I was sitting in my favorite armchair, a little worn but still holding strong, surrounded by stacks of old books and rolled-up maps. The fireplace was glowing gently, and a warm cup of tea steamed beside me on the small wooden table. At my age, nearing 80, you don't get too many visitors. But sometimes, young historians or students come to hear my stories. Not because I'm famous or anything, but because I've seen things, strange things. Tonight was one of those quiet nights. Nobody came, yet something in me stirred. Maybe it was the weather, or maybe it was time. Time to tell the story that still haunts my dreams. The one I never wrote down. The one I buried in silence. I was a young man then, barely 30, filled with energy and endless curiosity about ancient Egypt. I had a passion for forgotten languages and hidden tombs. In 1972, I got a letter, old, yellowed, and smelling faintly of sand. It came from a fellow historian and an old friend, Dr. Arthur Hale. He had stumbled upon something deep in the desert, far beyond the known pyramids, in a forgotten place no one had mapped. He said,
"Henry, I found it. The Pyramid of Sat. It's not on any record. Locals refuse to go near it. They say it breathes. I need you here. I can't do this alone. Bring your books and your faith."
I remember reading that last line again and again. Bring your faith. It wasn't like Arthur to speak in riddles, but something in me pulled, like a string tied to my spine, and 2 weeks later, I was in Egypt. The desert was cruel. Sun by day, biting cold by night. And yet, there it was, the pyramid. Unlike the golden giants of Giza, this one was dark. Made of black stone, almost invisible at dusk. It sat in a hollow, as if the land itself had caved in around it. No hieroglyphs on the outside, no statues, just silence. Arthur was different. He looked older, tired. His eyes seemed like they hadn't slept in days, or maybe years. He welcomed me, but I could tell he was hiding something. We sat that night outside his small canvas tent. The desert wind blew softly, lifting little curls of sand into the flickering lantern light. He poured 2 cups of strong, bitter tea and handed me one without a word. After a long silence, I finally spoke. "You look like hell, Arthur." He chuckled, but it was hollow.
Feels like it too. This place, it does something to you. You'll see.
I studied him. His beard was overgrown, hair messy, and his eyes, there was something behind them. Something far away. "Why didn't you leave? You could have waited for me in Cairo, or at least somewhere with walls." He sighed deeply.
I tried. I packed up, even made it halfway back. But I kept ending up here. Like the desert turned itself around when I wasn't looking.
I laughed nervously. "Come on, Arthur. You're not saying the sand moved." He looked at me, dead serious.
No. I'm saying I did. Or, something made me. Every time I tried to leave, I'd wake up outside the pyramid again. Even when I thought I was heading west.
That shut me up. I didn't answer at first, but truth be told, I had been feeling strange ever since I arrived. The way the wind blew, like it was whispering secrets. The way my stomach had been in knots, like my instincts were screaming quietly. I finally muttered, "It's colder here than it should be." He nodded slowly. We sat in silence again, the tea going cold in our hands. Somewhere in the distance, a jackal cried out, long and low, like it was mourning something none of us could name. Arthur looked up at the stars and whispered, almost too quietly for me to hear,
"We shouldn't have opened the door."
We entered the pyramid the next morning. Inside, it was freezing. The air felt thick, like breathing through a wet cloth. The walls were smooth, no carvings, nothing at all. Just a single passage going down, then another and another. We walked for what felt like hours, going deeper into the earth. Then, we found the room. A large circular chamber, lit only by our torches. In the center stood a stone coffin, surrounded by 7 statues, all facing inward. Each statue had no face, just a smooth surface where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. And on the coffin, a symbol I had never seen before, a spiral carved into a human skull. Arthur told me a story that night, one the locals whispered but never said aloud. The pyramid was built for a priest, not a pharaoh. A priest named Sat who served a forgotten god of silence and sleep. They say he wanted to live forever, and so he did something forbidden. He buried his voice in stone and promised that anyone who spoke in the pyramid would lose their mind. And Arthur had spoken. He said he heard voices down there, whispers in a language not known to man. And ever since, the whispers followed him. He hadn't slept in weeks. He had tried to leave, but every road out led him back to the pyramid, as if the desert itself wouldn't let him go. I wanted to believe it was just stress, just sand and heat. But that night, as I tried to sleep in our tent, I heard it. And now I heard it too, in the pyramid. A whisper, not in my ear, but in my bones. We left the next morning, but Egypt didn't feel like Egypt anymore. The sun seemed dull. People looked at us and quickly looked away. I returned to London, tried to forget, but the whisper followed me. It was soft at first, like wind rustling paper, then louder, like someone murmuring behind the wall. I thought I was losing it, but then things started happening. People I spoke to grew sick. My neighbor, a kind old woman, went blind overnight. A young student who came to ask about Egyptian myths collapsed after reading my journal. Always the same complaint before they went silent. Something is breathing in the dark. I checked Arthur's notes. In his final entry, he wrote, "The silence is not absence. It's watching, it's waiting, and it remembers who woke it." Arthur died 3 days later. They found him smiling, eyes wide open, mouth full of sand. 2 months ago, I began seeing the statues. Not in Egypt, here, in London, on the tube, in alleyways, even once reflected in a shop window. Faceless men, standing still, watching. Always 7 of them, always near. I've tried to run. I've moved houses, burned my notes. But it doesn't matter. The pyramid is here now. Not in form, but in essence. The air feels colder. The silence feels aware. Now, At this age, I sometimes wonder if the curse ever left, or if it's just been waiting, watching, growing quiet roots under the city's skin.